There is someone in my home. CreepyPasta. Written by Nightmares TV. About 2 years ago in my old house, something happened. Something horrifying. Something awful. The house was the nicest house in a somewhat rundown neighborhood. It was also in a fairly rural area. It had an amazing price for how nice it looked. Almost too nice. Especially for someone with a lower income, like me. As soon as I'd finished touring the house, I immediately knew that I wanted to live here. So I talked to the realtor and instantly gave an offer. I went pretty low, just to see how flexible the owner would be with their already extremely low price. The next morning, I was contacted by my realtor. I was expecting to see a counteroffer, just as he informed me that the owner had accepted my offer. I was in complete shock. I was just so curious as to who this owner was and why they would allow themselves to get completely ripped off. I wasn't going to worry about it too much more though, so I had the house inspected, signed some papers, and the house was mine. I rented a U-Haul truck to get my stuff from my small apartment about 30 minutes away to my new house. It wasn't much stuff, so I was able to get it all packed up in about 2 hours. Then, I grabbed some McDonald's and headed to my new place. When I got there, I unpacked what I had and got everything set up. Well, as unpacked as you can in the first day anyways. I still had boxes everywhere. Although the house is really nice and well taken care of, you could still see its age. Probably built in the 80s. Also, the walls were paper thin, and it seemed as if they were hollow. The only bad thing about this was that it would let in noise. But it was a quiet street, so this wasn't gonna bother me. So what I'm trying to say is that the house was by no means brand new. But I liked that about it. Because it was older, it gave it that charm and personality you just can't find in modern houses these days. So I spent the day setting up my room, unpacking, and settling in. It was still early, but I was exhausted after a long day of moving, so I decided to go to bed early. I went to the master bedroom, brushed my teeth, and got in bed, and I went to sleep. I woke up around 2 a.m. I woke up in the early hours of the morning every night, so this was not unusual. It's just something I do. I was super thirsty, so I went to get some water from the fridge. When I got back in bed, that's when things started getting odd. I was hearing some kind of tapping from within the walls. My heart jumped. I didn't know what to think. But as soon as it started, it stopped. I chalked it up to being the age of the house. You just didn't hear noises like that in the newly built apartment building like I was used to living in. Anyways, I thought I'd just have to get used to it. Then I closed my eyes and fell fast asleep. The next morning, I woke up early, excited for my first full day in the house. I made some cereal, watched some TV, and decided to unpack the rest of my stuff. But before I could even get started, there was the tapping again. This time, in the living room. I knew this had to be more than just the house, because it went on for a solid minute. I was becoming uneasy about this noise. I didn't want there to be some kind of animal in my house, so I thought, if this keeps up, I'll call the exterminator, right? The rest of the day went pretty normal. I went for a jog, got some stuff at the store, and then I sat outside to watch the sunset. I went in around 7 to watch my favorite show and relax. About halfway through the show, I started to hear light tapping in the walls again. By this point, I was extremely annoyed about this and just wanted it to stop. So I turned up the TV volume a few notches, but the tapping grew louder and sounded as if they were footsteps. I was freaking out, but they still didn't sound loud enough to be human footsteps. So I still thought it was a raccoon or something. There wasn't anything I could do about it at the moment. Besides, the exterminator was coming tomorrow to check it out. So I yet again turned up my TV. I watched several episodes and then went to bed around 10:30. After I had been in my bed for around 10 minutes, I heard a noise, but it wasn't an animal this time. It was some kind of electronic device. It sounded kind of like a camera does when it's trying to zoom in and out. I thought maybe I should ask the realtor if there was some kind of home security system I didn't know about. However, I eventually put it aside and fell asleep. I woke up from a deep sleep around 3 a.m. I looked around my room and froze. There was some kind of hidden door in my wall, halfway open. I didn't know what to think, but what I saw next almost made my heart stop. There was a head peeking at me from behind the door. I found the courage to scream, "What are you doing in my home?" As soon as I did, the hidden door slammed shut, and I heard the person running inside the walls. I was horrified. I ran immediately downstairs, grabbed my cell phone, and dialed 911. They told me it would be about 10 minutes and to get out of the house, so I went to my front yard and waited. When they showed up, I told them about the hidden door and the person. They told me to wait outside. About 10 minutes later, the police came out of the house. They were all wearing a disturbed look on their faces. The last cop had a man in handcuffs. The man had strange, torn-up clothes. He looked absolutely insane. But worst of all, he had an ominous ear-to-ear smile. He was happy. He was proud. Of what? I do not know. They put him in the police car and walked up to tell me what was going on. What they told me gives me chills to this very day. They said the guy had been in those walls for at least a few months. He said there was a tunnel system throughout every wall, and there were cameras faced towards every room in the house. And he had a monitor set up to see every room, and he was watching me, my every move. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I didn't know what to say. What did this guy want? What was he planning on doing to me? After I had these quick thoughts, the police interrupted and said there's unfortunately more. He told me that this was the old owner of the house. I was shocked. The officer then said the worst part is what they found. Bodies deep within the tunnels of the walls. They told me he was some kind of psychopath stalker. The police have very little doubt that I wouldn't have ended up like the other people the maniac had brutally murdered. The police explained that it was a cycle. The owner sells the house for an extremely low price to people who live by themselves. He then stalks the person, kills them, then steals their ID so nobody would even know. The police told me I was lucky to be alive. They told me that this was now a crime scene and I would have to be in a hotel the next couple days. And I would also need to come into the station for some questioning on the situation. I told them that that's fine. There was no way I'm coming back here anyways. I'm selling the house. So I put the house on the market. I didn't really care how long it took to sell. I just wanted to live anywhere but here. I then decided that maybe I was meant to live in an apartment. So I started looking and found a nice one within a week, and I made sure it was far, far away from that awful house. And just like that, it was all over. But I knew I would never be able to recover from something that terrible. Some nights, I just can't stop thinking about how close I was to becoming just another body. It haunts me. I sat there for hours, just waiting for some secret door to open in the wall and the head of a person to peek out with that disturbing smile, or the noise of a camera zooming in on me. Although it's been 2 years, it feels like 2 days. I am truly scarred for life. I now suffer from dream anxiety disorder, usually having a nightmare every night. I also have extreme depression. It's not a fun way to live, but at least I'm alive. So it might sound crazy, but if there's any advice I can give you, it's this. Check your walls for hollow spots. Check the rooms of your house for cameras. Listen for even the slightest of noises, because you just never know if you're being watched.